Today, we're tackling one of the toughest questions homeowners face. Should you sell your home to pay off debt? We're going to take a look at 3 key factors that will help you make the right financial decision, especially as we venture into one of the most expensive times of the year. Hey friends, I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers achieve their real estate goals here in the greater Philadelphia area. Now, whether you're new to the channel or not, do me a favor if you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that red button and mash that bell while you're at it, because not only does it tell YouTube that I'm doing the right things, but it's also your way to stay in the know and be notified of videos that I post. So with the holidays right around the corner, we all know that this is supposed to be one of the most joyous times of the year, but it is also a very expensive time of the year. So if you feel debt starting to rise, you may be kicking around the question whether or not it's in your best interest to sell your home to pay off the debt. So in this video, we're going to break down whether or not selling your home now is the right decision for your financial future, or if there are other ways that might be smarter for you to address this rising debt. So the first thing you want to do is you want to evaluate your entire financial situation. A lot of times consumers don't realize that credit card interest is pretty high. I mean, we're talking 20+% interest. And if you have several credit cards with high revolving balances, this debt or this monthly payment that you have to pay for your credit cards, even just the minimum credit card payment, could be quite daunting and could really start to put a burden on the overall household finances. Right now, I don't know the exact stats, but I can tell you that credit card debt is at an all-time high. So if you're watching this, you're probably one of those people with either mounting credit card debt, or you may already have maxed out credit cards. And if you do, it can be very attractive to take your equity, which is the other thing that you want to start to evaluate. You need to determine, if you go this route and decide to sell your home, how much equity can you pull out of the property, and does that solve the problem? If you have $75,000 in credit card debt, but only $50,000 in equity, well, using that $50,000 to pay off the credit cards or some of the credit cards may help you, but now you don't have a home and you still have over $25,000 in credit card debt to resolve. So you need to take a look at how much credit card debt you have and also how much equity you have in the property if you really want to get a clear picture. And another thing to just take into consideration is that if you want to leverage your equity, well, you're gonna have to consider selling the property. And when you go to sell the property, there's generally some expenses that come along with that. Even if you decide to sell the home on your own, which I would not encourage, there are still some fees that you're going to encounter. So if you have $50,000 in equity, it's going to be less once you go and you pay those fees. Just something to keep in mind. Now, the other thing that you need to consider is the timing of the market or the state of the market. Does it make sense for you to sell now, or should you wait to sell? And this is going to depend greatly on the market in which you live. But to add some context for our real estate market, if you had to sell now, you're probably in a really good spot. It is still very much a seller's market, and you're probably going to get an offer that gives you most of the terms you're looking for. It's not like it was a year or two ago where people would literally give you their right arm, but you're still getting relatively decent offers if you are a seller in today's market. But when you sell, you become subject to the market to find a place to live. Whether you decide to buy another home, or which you're probably not going to do if you're trying to resolve debt, but you're going to have to rent. And to be honest, the rental market right now is not an easy market, and it is also very costly when it comes to renting. But you have to take into consideration the moving mechanics of your market. What are the interest rates like? What are buyers looking for? Will buyers need to make repairs to the house that you aren't able to potentially do? Because again, we're trying to resolve or clear up some debt here. So ultimately, take that into consideration. Another thing to consider is if you're not selling your primary residence and you're thinking about selling some form of an investment property, what are your tax implications? Is it going to put you in a position where once you pay the taxes on selling that investment, where it would have been wiser for you to keep it and maybe consider some other options? So again, that really is only going to apply if it is your investment or a primary that you lived in for less than 2 years, but it's something to consider. And then the last thing to consider, like right now, when it comes to determining should you sell now or later, is it's the holidays. You have to ask yourself, do you want to deal with the moving mechanics of selling a home during the holiday season, right? If you have children, that could be a very tough thing to consider if you celebrate the holiday or any of the forthcoming holidays. It's cold, so you're going to have to move during the cold season, you are, well, you know what? I actually just did a video on whether or not it makes sense to sell before the holidays. And if you haven't already seen it, you can go ahead and check that video out. But moral of the story is you have to ask yourself, do I want to sell my home during the busiest holiday season of the year? And the third thing that I want to go over or discuss is, are there other options rather than selling? And the short answer to that is yes. Now, whether you qualify or you're in position to take advantage of some of these other options, that's for you to explore. But you could consider a HELOC. A HELOC, the acronym stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. As we've been discussing, if you have equity in your home, it's a lot cheaper or easier, so long as you financially can afford it, to take the equity out of your home and use that to pay down some of the debt that has a higher interest rate. Generally, your credit cards, and for some of you, even your car, is going to have a higher interest rate than you would have on a home equity line of credit. Now, I don't know what the current rates are for a HELOC, but I'm assuming somewhere between 8 and maybe 10, 12%. If you're a loan officer and you know better than I do right now, feel free to drop that in the comments. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, credit cards have an interest into the 20s. So if you can take your equity at a much lower interest and pay off your credit card debt, at the end of the day, you could be saving hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars. So HELOC is one alternative. Another thing that you can consider is debt reconsolidation. Is there a way for you to reconsolidate or restructure your debt? Now, companies out there that can help you with this, I'm sure there are YouTube videos out there that can help you with trying to figure out how to restructure your debt. But if you don't want to sell your home, which a lot of times we don't, we're emotionally attached to them, maybe reconsolidating or restructuring debt is an option for you. Now, the last two are going to seem like common sense and probably what you don't want to do, but you could start to budget. If you're like me, I don't budget. I spend money very poorly, probably more money on dumb things than I should, but I know that if I were to budget, it would help my life exponentially. So if you're in a situation where finances are tough and you are trying to debate whether or not you should or should not sell your home, maybe budgeting is something you should consider. At least, well, I think we should all budget, but moral of the story is if you're not budgeting, now might be the time to do so. And the last thing is consider other ways to generate income. Now, I know that the job market is tough and it's easier said than done when someone says, well, just go make more money. But this is where if you have a talent, you have a hobby that you could leverage and make additional money, now's the time. If you have extra time on the weekends and a car that would allow for you to do ride share or delivering food through any of those delivery apps that are out there, it is a way for you to, at your convenience, try to generate some additional money. So if you are in a situation like many people are in, where there's just rising debt and you're trying to determine if you should sell your property, well, hopefully this gives you some clarity. And as I mentioned, you could check out the other video that I did on whether or not it's wise to sell your home during a holiday season or before the end of the year, which I guess is the holiday season. But either way, you can check that video out. Once again, I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers in the greater Philadelphia area achieve their real estate goals. And if I can help you, let me know. Till next time, take care.